Hey guys, what's up? It's Alex or Nuzz here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about 3 reworks that I think RuneScape 3 needs in 2023. I think this should be an interesting video, seeing as we've had some news about recent reworks that were supposed to come out that will be mentioned today that most people were pretty upset about. Now, if you want to progress your RuneScape account and get better at PvM, make sure you subscribe, as 70% of you aren't subscribed, and I'm hoping to maybe hit 40k subscribers soon. But yeah, thank you to everyone that's subscribed, and let's get into this video. I think it should be a pretty interesting one. Of course, when we think of updates in RuneScape, we tend to think of new updates, new skills, new bosses, but often some of the best and most well-polished updates are actually updates that go and rework current or older content and revitalize it in a way to a point where it feels like new content itself, but the core of it still remains true. Well, here are 3 possible reworks that I think Jagex need to seriously look at implementing in 2023, or at least soon. I feel they could really make the game much better and could be very big for 2023, seeing as we're already getting a new skill. What better way to still get out updates without entirely making something completely new than reworking something that really needs it? The first one is something we all know. We had some recent news, the player avatar rework. Most players were eagerly awaiting this major update that would overhaul player characters. This was a major project that was going to aim to bring the characters in RuneScape up to the standards of the other popular, more modern MMOs. The goal of this rework was to bring a refreshed avatar style with 32 new outfits, 62 new hairstyles, and 18 facial hairstyles. This actually looked great from what they showed, and it's no secret this rework was actually highly anticipated by a lot of people, including myself. Let's be honest, Fashionscape and the look of your character in RuneScape is huge to a lot of people. People pay billions upon billions of gold just to dye their favorite weapon or armor to a different color, or to wear a little paper crown on their head. So it's obvious that the player base cares about how the game and their characters look, and it's also obvious that RuneScape was lacking behind some other MMOs with how the game's characters and character creation was. It's pretty sad how a lot of the updates for RuneScape that people are genuinely looking forward to get shelved without much of a reason other than it's taking too long. You would think maybe just don't announce or talk about something unless you can kind of fully commit to it, and usually the term shelved generally means canceled for RuneScape 3, not always. But I remember when Group Iron Man was said to be coming out at sort of the same time as old school RuneScape or near it. They were working on it, and then it was eventually shelved, but people still held on to hope for it to release. But years later, it never did. I even made a video deep diving into this about a year ago, and even though they didn't fully cancel the Avatar rework, they did kind of cancel it for this year. The shelving term is usually not a good sign for RuneScape updates at all. It does seem like Jagex has recently been prioritizing updates that build hype or get people talking rather than ones that aren't as flashy but need to be done for the game. Well, these updates might be good for the short term of the game, like new bosses, new skills, new rares. Neglecting the stuff that just overall improves the health of the game at its core is not necessarily a great sign. So even though it was shelved, I do think this rework is something that I hope we eventually see, while probably not in 2023. I think it would be an important step in bringing RuneScape 3 closer to your more modern games, at least in character customization and creation. Let's be honest, that is a huge part of MMOs, and really when you create your character in RuneScape, it's a very lackluster process that's pretty much just glossed over entirely. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is something that has kind of been plaguing PvM a little bit for quite a while. It has gotten better, but I do feel like it could definitely be changed a little bit more or reworked, which is the aura system. Now, a lot of people have a ton of different gripes with the aura system, how it kind of gatekeeps certain bosses because you kind of need certain auras for certain bosses, especially the ones where your accuracy is very low. It's very hard to do some of them without certain auras, although recently it has gotten better. A lot of the bosses release, you don't need to use a specific aura, specific accuracy aura, like Reckless, Maniacal, Berserker, to be able to do the bosses. You can use basically kind of any aura, or there are a lot of different choices which they have done better. but also the fact that when you activate an aura, you're kind of forced to boss for a certain period of time, and this didn't used to bother me, but recently I find myself, wanting to do like 20 minutes of a boss or like a few kills, and then, maybe I take a little break, maybe I, gotta go to the bathroom or, get some food or whatever, and it kind of, if I go with a friend to a boss, or if I go myself to a boss, I'm kind of forced to sit there, try to go as fast as possible for that hour, or sometimes longer if you extend even longer than that, depending what aura you're using. And it kind of feels, like you're forced to boss for a certain amount of time. You can't just lobby out and come back and finish your aura later on. A lot of people work or, have different things, school going on, and they, maybe they can only boss for a little bit and then they have to, go back and do something. A lot of people work from home. And of course, the aura counts down while you're logged out, so you can't just lobby and come back on to use your aura. I think in all honesty, auras are kind of outdated for, what PVM is like now. I think they could definitely do something, whether it make them permanent buffs that you can, toggle on or off when you need, or having it so you don't actually have to use the full amount of aura. When you're using it, you can log out and that timer will kind of stop, and then you can log back in and continue. They did actually do a little bit when they added, War's Retreat with aura refreshes and stuff. It's a little bit easier to refresh aura. So if you do need to go to a place, like let's say you want to do a ton of Virago and you need an aura like Reckless or Maniacal to be able to hit, you are able to go and refresh a little easier than you could before to be able to continue doing that boss. Although, some people don't have all the aura refreshes, and it is a little bit easier to get auras now with War's Retreat, but it's still a little bit of something you have to work towards. You're not just gonna, come back with an account and have all the auras you need for whatever PVM you need. So while they have made a few changes to the aura system that makes it a little bit better, and while maybe they won't need a full entire rework, I still feel like there's a lot they can do to make the aura system just a lot better than it is now. Let me know what you guys think about auras below. Do you think it's something that should be reworked? Something that you kind of see as an annoying kind of requirement for different things that's kind of outdated and the system needs some work? Or do you think they're fine as they are and something that they shouldn't really mess with anymore? Let me know in the comments. I think it's really interesting. I think there's a lot of people that have been clamoring for something to change for auras for quite a while, so I'd be curious to know your guys' thoughts on this. The last thing I want to talk about is something that I've been very passionate about for quite a while, and hopefully we're getting maybe some change to it. I know there's things coming out like Fort Forenthry and things coming out that we don't know all the information about that maybe could have something to do with this, but that is the construction skill and the player-owned house. Now for me, I always absolutely loved the player-owned house in RuneScape. Construction was a favorite skill of mine, especially when it came out. I just thought it was so cool being able to kind of like create your house and, add stuff to it. I think it really goes to like the customization of things, sort of like back to the character customization and stuff. I feel like old school RuneScape does player-owned houses so well, and I'm not sure if it can be done that well in RuneScape 3, and I'm going to give you the reasons why. Now, I do think it actually should be done in RuneScape 3, which is why it's on this list. I do think they should do a construction sort of rework to kind of revamp the player-owned house. We have the player-owned Slayer dungeon, which is a very good idea, but that doesn't really have too much to do with construction as it does Slayer. I think the player-owned house could be done so much better. So in old school RuneScape, a player-owned house is pretty much vital to PVM and PvP. You have easy teleports around the game. You have things like the Crystalline Portal Nexus, which can basically allow you to teleport and store teleports to basically anywhere in the game. You have the Rejuvenation Pool, which restores your health, your special attack, gets rid of your poison, it restores your run energy, is a very essential part to PVM. There's a ton of stuff that just makes the old school RuneScape player-owned house very superior to RS3. Now, I think RS3 could have perhaps in the past updated it, and I think it would be cool if the player-owned house had things that we now see in the PVM hub. So the PVM hub might have kind of at least made it a little difficult to implement this update to make the player-owned house good for PVM. There's the adrenaline renewal crystals where you essentially can gain adren at the PVM hub. You have the boss portals. You have the prayer restore shard, all the stuff, the bonfire, all that stuff at the PVM hub. Imagine if you could build that in your house and kind of make a nice area that you can get ready for PVM. I think the PVM hub again kind of does that already, so they'd have to think of something different to kind of make it relevant, maybe things that the PVM hub doesn't have, because you'd kind of be making players choose between the PVM hub and their player-owned house unless your player-owned house had everything that the PVM hub had and more. So I think that might be a little bit of a difficult challenge to do, but I do think there can be some great things that can be added to the player-owned house to kind of make it at least something that you want to use. I barely go in there anymore. The only reason I go to my player-owned house like at all is I go there sometimes to repair my items because it might be a little bit faster than going somewhere else, and then also maybe rarely I'll go there to dive down and get the free elite clue that you can get. But that's really it. I really hope that they can do something, either doing construction, reworking it, or just adding some new stuff to the player-owned house to make it worthwhile and something that doesn't feel like dead content, because it's something that I've always loved, and I hope maybe they can make some changes to it. But I'm curious to know what you guys think. Do you think the player-owned house should be revamped and redone to kind of make it something more in line with the modern RuneScape, modern PVMing, something that can actually be beneficial for either PVMers or skillers a bit more than it is now? Or would you prefer it just stays how it is, kind of pretty much dead content? I guess it probably has some uses, especially in the earlier game, but I'm really curious what you guys think, so let me know in the comments below. I thought all three of these reworks are things that I would love to see in 2023, and I think would be pretty beneficial for Jagex to come out with. So let me know your thoughts again below, and yeah, like the video, subscribe for more like this, and I'll see y'all in the next one.